Hello, people. How you doing today? I am here. First of all, I'm Lee Cole, 3. This is my podcast with my partner, James Proctor. James, how are you doing today?
Hey, doing good. How are you today, Lee?
Well, we're doing a lot of research on one story we're working on, and then all of a sudden these stories happen,
Yeah.
and being that we like to get them out and reply to them.
hmm
I've been, we've been not even mentioning Dominic Cicale. Is that correct?
It's not. Well, the last time we did talk about him in our monthly recap, but that was really giving him kudos for getting over 10,000 subs. So,
And then, what's happening now is he's trying to say that Bruno Indelicato left a message in his chat. I'm going to play that message.
yeah.
But then I'm going to talk about his reaction to the message. The reaction really bothered me because he pulled a Sammy Gravano. And what does Sammy Gravano do? What does Sammy Gravano and Cicale have in common? They attack their victims, the
Yeah.
people they put in prison. They attack the families of those people.
Right.
It's something that these informants do to make themselves feel better about themselves.
hmm
Would you agree with that, James?
Yeah. That's what we see over and over is just that they continue to, instead of looking at themselves or, you know, accepting responsibility, they want to blame other people for
And
what
here's
happened.
here's the problem I have. Vinny Basciano's in prison,
hmm
and you're still going to be out here bashing him. He has a family that's listening. Look, you may not like his family, but the man's in prison. He's doing what you cannot, what you were not able to do,
Yeah.
uh, Dominic. That's what it comes down to. And I'm going to play. And I got this from Dominic's channel, and it's a recording. I'm not playing the actual video because I do not have his permission. But I'm going to play what was said. Here we go. Whoops. Okay. I'm a dumbass. Okay. I put the wrong one up, and I'm glad I caught it in time.
Yeah.
Okay. I just need to delete this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, people, I'm going to play this recording and this recording is what Bruno Indelicato said to Dominic in his chat. First of all, let's remember we don't know if this was Bruno. We don't know if it was someone pretending they were Bruno or even if it was Cicale doing it for entertainment purposes. We don't know that. So I'm not going to say it's him 100%, but um, Dominic sounded like it was him because Dominic was really pissed.
Yeah.
And, whenever you call out one of these guys that have flipped, they get pissed.
Yeah.
Comment on your page, and I'm done entertaining this. Vinny was molded by the real mafia, groomed, raised by the streets. Guys he came up around were real life killers. They honored their morals and values. You keep trying to paint a narrative that Vinny put himself where he is today because of his mouth. Only people you are fooling are these bozos on the other end of these comments. If you know the truth, the government set Vinny up by placing him in the pen with Joe, knowing he had to answer him. In that light, Vinny is compelled to answer Joe's questions. They entrapped him. And Vinny had to say what he said to save your life, because Joe wanted to kill you. But I'm sure you know all this. So I am sure what was said at the diner on the day, at the diner on the day, was said for a good reason. Or maybe Vinny never got the beep. But I know one thing, Vinny wouldn't have put anybody he loves in harm's way. So stop trying to paint this picture that Vinny's mouth is why he's in jail. He's in jail because of rats.
Well, that was the entire comment.
Okay. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Okay.
Yeah. I heard it very well.
Okay. So now that comment, could it have been from Bruno? Sure, it could have been. Usually these guys that are stand-up guys won't come on here and answer, but they probably get pissed when you see a friend of yours or Vinny's Vinny Basciano sitting in jail, and this guy is making up story after story and continuously attacks Vinny. What do you think that this is something that he's going to? Well, he has to do this because his show is based on Vinny Basciano. That's what,
Yeah. Yeah, and even when you look at the book, I mean, what it is, the beef comes down to two conversations that Vinny had. One, he spoke with Big Louie Tartaglione, and basically in that he acknowledged that he had acknowledged Dominic, and so what upset Dominic was that Dominic thought he was under the radar. And then the second time was when Vinny was in prison and was taped by Messina. And so I'm not saying that this is justifying it. One, I know that when a murder happens, you don't talk about. That was the defense that was given by Cicale. But at the same time, what about your boss? And so
okay.
your
Well,
boss,
and here's where I'm going to jump in.
yeah,
I talked to two people who's somebody in their family was the boss of the family.
yeah,
I asked them this very question. If the boss came to you and asked you a question, do you answer them? You're damn straight. Dominic, you said that he shouldn't have talked and said nothing. First of all, he did not want to say anything, Dominic. He was literally pulled into saying it. He kept trying to avoid it. But the boss of the family is asking you. At that time, nobody knew Messina was becoming a rat. You do not tell the boss. So Dominic, I don't understand why you would make that excuse that you don't tell the boss. Yeah, you do. If the boss asks you about something, it don't matter where you are. You could be in a closet. You could be out on a ride at the amusement park. You could be in prison. When you're asked a question by the boss, you answer it. That's the reality of it. And he answered it. And you're bashing him, saying that he was stupid to answer the boss. Not everybody's as smart as you, Dominic. That's what it comes down to. James?
yeah, and so in that circumstance, a couple of things happened. So the Vinny Gorgeous actually said he was the one that had gave the order, and so he didn't. He made sure not to implicate Dominic Cicale. And also, what I wanted to mention about the first instance where Vinny had spoke to Big Louie, it said, at least from what I was able to read in Vinny's biography, it may, we have to just go, it may not be true, but I believe it is. Vinny supposedly apologized to Dominic for actually talking to someone that he suspected was wearing a wire. And so, I know that there were those two instances, and the first, I do know that Vinny apologized for the first one, and then the second time was basically the boss. But the other thing is, I just don't see there's any chance in hell that Dominic could have stayed under the radar when you had everyone pretty much except for maybe Bruno and Vinny flipping. They would have exposed Dominic.
And let's make this straight. You got to remember that now. Bruno Indelicato was in prison with Dominic.
Yeah.
And when he came out, he went to Vinny Basciano and said, "Look, this guy, he vouched for him."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, do you understand that these guys vouched for you and one of them looked at you like a brother? They both looked at you like you were a brother. I mean, one of them was even you were in prison with. He's the one that came out, and despite the fact that so many people didn't trust you, he went to Vinny and he vouched for you.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then Vinny,
and that's true.
And then Vinny, like a brother, You were with him everywhere. And now you just keep going. I don't understand why these guys, they have to understand they did their job. Mikey Scar, this is the difference between, say, Basciano and Mikey Scars. Mikey Scars did a lot of scumbag shit. I found more stuff that he did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not defending him in any way. But the difference is he's not attacking John Gotti. I'm John Gotti Jr. He's not attacking him. But it seems like you're doing a Sammy Gravano. You want to make your victims into the people you want to be victims. You're the victim of Vinny Basciano, and Sammy Gravano is the victim of John Gotti.
Yeah. Well, something I wanted to mention also on that topic. So on the tapes, one thing is, so Massino asked Vinny, Dominic, you trust him? And then Vinny said 1,000%. Then he paused and he said 2,000%. So, Massino asked Vinny, does he trust him? And, Vinny at that point did. And so, that's pretty telling, 1,000% and then 2,000%. So, definitely at this point, even when they were in jail or, waiting trial, that he had all this trust and love for Dominic.
Yeah, and now the man has a channel out here, and the one thing I do like about his channel, he gives very fresh stuff that
He does.
we need here. That's fresh. People want to hear fresh stuff. But when I seen his anger in his face when he was talking just in this last video, he looked like he had so much hate and disdain for Vinny Basciano, who called you a brother.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand this. It's now you got to remember. You see, Bruno Indelicato. People don't. A lot of people just don't realize sometimes that his father is one of the three captains.
Mm-hmm.
When they killed his father, you don't think he wanted revenge, but here's what he did. He accepted it was part of the life. Just like Mikey Scars accepted when his brother was killed. It was part of the life.
Yeah.
So they didn't get their revenge on it. But you are so full of revenge here for Basciano, who's sitting in prison, by the way, for the rest of his life. Dominic, you get to do your show on here. But you should do your show and pull back the bashing a little bit on a man that trusted you like a brother and vouched for you over and over and over again, even though everybody on the street was telling him that they didn't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
He was even willing to kill a guy, go after a guy to kill that was saying he doesn't trust you. And that guy was a boss.
Yeah, okay. Very true.
Okay. So, James?
Yeah. So, I mean, the other thing that was interesting is, the statements with, with Bruno and Indelicato, additionally, they were talking about how, what happened. But, I do know that, that I believe it was his father. I mean, that told him not to drive the three captains to the meeting when it happened. That's what I have read and heard. That may not be accurate. I know that Cicale said that what he's going to do pretty soon is do a video where he exposes and talks about Bruno and why he wasn't there when his father and the three captains.
And here's what happened back then. Let's face it. The three captains wanted to kill Massino and those guys. Those guys wanted to kill the three captains. And Massino and his guys they landed first. They outsmarted the three captains. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, and there were multiple meetings even before that. So that wasn't the very first meeting where they had met. So, this was like the third meeting that they've gotten together. And, Massino decided he was going to, hit him.
Now, as for Joe Massino wanting to kill Cicale, I don't even know if that's true. I can't even say if it's true, But let me put it this way. If that was Bruno Indelicato, if that was in your chat and he said that, then that means it's probably true because Bruno always came off as a real stand-up guy.
Yeah.
There's a guy who did hits that you wouldn't believe. He was involved in a lot of things before the captain's deaths and after. He was involved with many things, and you know that, Dominic. And that's why Vinny trusted him, because of who he was and what a stand-up guy he was. He trusted him, and that's why, if anything, you talk about Vinny letting his guard down. Vinny let his guard down with you,
Hmm.
and look what it cost him.
Yeah, and that, when you look at his reactions, talking about Vinny's reactions, he reacted when his boss flipped. He reacted when when the underboss flipped, and it wasn't much of a reaction. But when Dominic flipped, that really affected Vinny more than any of them.
Yeah,
because he
it
didn't
did.
think that was going to happen.
It's like, I got an idea. Just keep your mouth shut about the whole thing with Vinny, and go after other people. Talk about other people, unless you need Vinny that much in order to do your show. I don't think you do, because you have a lot of stories.
Yeah.
But to attack this man, and you know what? I wasn't even going to say anything. I wasn't going to even get involved in this, but I watched that and I was like, what the hell are you doing? Why didn't you go after Bruno? If
Yeah.
Bruno said it, go after Bruno,
Yeah.
not Vinny. God almighty, the guy's in prison because of you and Joe Messino. Okay, James,
Yeah.
like anything else to say before we close this up?
Yeah. So, one of the things that was interesting too. So, during the time that Cicale was the acting captain, when Bassiano was in jail, he basically was not liked by the rest of the people that were under him. And so, supposedly he had ordered beatings of all sorts of victims, old, young, men and women. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I have heard, that when Cicale was acting captain, that he was ordering a bunch of beatings. He was very difficult to work with. Apparently, there was a case where Gambina, a guy named Joey Gambina, was accompanying Ace to beat up an elderly man named Frank, and that this was one instance where Cicale had ordered someone beaten, and then I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what there's a lot of complaints about Cicale when he was acting captain. I don't know if maybe.
Well, that too is the guy you're attacking. Vinny Bassiano had the loyalty to put you in charge of the streets of his crew while he was gone.
Right.
Or he said, okay, and you did.
Right, and there was the beef between him and Mancuso as well. So during this time, Cicale was having difficulty with Mancuso, and so what I'm saying is just trying to show evidence that Vinny was trying to give Dominic a chance to shine, and he believed and trusted in him. And these type of things were happening, and he still was trusting Dominic, and never believed that he would have flipped on him.
And you keep bringing up that, okay, Bassiano talked on wire twice, but he didn't talk on purpose on the wire twice. He didn't know the wires were there. Are you trying to say the first time he did? I doubt it very much.
Right.
Maybe.
What he's saying is he believes that. So Big Louie was. So my understanding is that. So Big Louie was thought to possibly be a rat before this conversation was recorded.
So Big Louie was considered to be a rat before that, just like Dominic was considered to be a rat before that.
Yeah, exactly.
They were both considered to be rats before that.
Yeah, and even Vinny admitted, Vinny said he didn't like the way he sounded on tape because he said too much, particularly for a man who supposedly didn't do anything. And so, and then later, like I said, that Vinny apologized to Dominic for talking too much on that first instance, with Big Louie. But then the second one was with with Messina, and I'm not sure. What do you do if the boss asks you
You
questions?
tell the boss what he wants to hear.
Yeah,
He wants to, if the boss asks you something, and at that time you have no idea that he's ratting, and the boss
right.
comes to you, it doesn't matter where the boss asks you.
Well, that's
You
part of the
need,
oath. That's part of the oath.
you have to tell the boss. So I do not understand why Dominic's trying to make people think that you can hold things back from the boss. No, that's a good way to get killed in prison. That's a good way to get killed on the street. That's a good way to get killed. If you don't just say, okay, say Messina wasn't wired and he wouldn't answer him.
Mhm.
You say Messina really wanted to know and he went to him and he asked him that question and he refused to answer.
Right.
That's not a good look.
Well, and that's true, and that's kind of where my problem is that yes, as a matter of policy, you will not talk about murders after it happens. That's a matter of policy. But in your oath, you have an obligation to the boss, and if the boss, you are on call 24 hours a day. You are to put Cosa Nostra before your family, before God, before everything. And if the boss calls you, you have to be available, even
And
if your wife is in labor at the hospital.
if you murdered somebody and then you lied to the boss will kill you. I mean, how
Yeah.
many times has that happened in the mob? Because someone
Oh,
lied.
exactly.
It happens all the time. But anyway, we just wanted to speak on this. You guys tell us what you think underneath here. Please like and subscribe to this video if you like it. If you want to
Yeah.
donate to the video, please do so. It's appreciated. And we just weren't planning on doing this video, but Dominic gave us a reason to do this video. James, anything you'd like to say before we leave?
No, it's just a very interesting discussion today. And so, we'll see what happens next.
And we're going to go back to working on our other video, people, which we're
Yeah.
really looking forward to doing. It's
Yeah.
really about a really good character, another informant, but we're going to do a story on him as informing and his Midas touch. But anyway, everybody take care. Thank you. Please hit the like button. Please sub if you had not. James, take care. Thank you.
Thank you.